Mother of 5 missing for days now.
The search is expanding for this mother. She has 5 children and she's been missing for nearly a week.
Well, now we are wrapping up day 10 in the search for a missing Connecticut mother. As disturbing new details in the case are coming to light, possible new evidence that may point to foul play.
On May 24, 2019, a mother of 5 vanished, never to be seen again. Investigators, family and friends have since ruled her dead. The question on everyone's lips was, what happened to Jennifer Dulos? 7 months and hundreds of pages of search warrants later, the police would finally arrest their prime suspect, none other than the estranged husband of Jennifer Dulos. Stick with us as we take an in-depth look at the case, from her tumultuous marriage to the traceable events on that fateful day. The morning of May 24, 2019, Jennifer Dulos was busy preparing her 5 kids for school at her upscale New Canaan home in Connecticut. Unfortunately, the police would later deduce that her killer was already en route to her place. The morning must have been the typical chaotic kind, with 5 kids needing to be ready early for school. Jennifer also had multiple appointments scheduled in New York City later that day. She departed at 7:58 am to drop off the kids at New Canaan Country School just up the road. She returned home 7 minutes later and was captured by a neighbor's surveillance camera. This was the last time she was ever seen.
17 Chevrolet Suburban, returning towards the house just 7 minutes later.
Later at 10:25 am, Jennifer's car left her home, but police have since asserted that she wasn't the one driving.
It's unclear if Jennifer was the driver of the vehicle when it left the house the second time that morning.
Something terrible had happened to her, and her home had turned into a crime scene waiting to be discovered. Police believe she had been murdered, her home cleaned as best as her attacker could manage, and her body placed in her Chevrolet Suburban. Subsequently, Jennifer's vehicle was discovered at a nearby park, less than 100 feet from where Fotis Dulos, her estranged husband, had parked a red truck he drove from Farmington. The park and the truck were just 3 miles away from Jennifer's home, but it would be a long day before the police were even alerted that something was wrong. The family's babysitter arrived at Jennifer's home at 11:30, discovering that one of Jennifer's cars was gone. She did not think much of it because she knew Jennifer had scheduled doctor's appointments in New York City. However, she noted that Jennifer would have taken the other car, not her Suburban. She was further alarmed when she went inside the house because a couple of things were out of place. Jennifer's purse was on the floor, there was an unopened granola bar, and a mug of tea was on the kitchen counter. Later, when the babysitter went to get more paper towels, only 2 rolls were left. This prompted confusion as she had stocked up the night before, and there were supposed to be more than 10 unused rolls. Over the hours that followed, all attempts to reach Jennifer through texts and calls yielded no response, and this raised concern among family and friends. The realization that Jennifer was missing prompted them to contact the police around 7:00 p.m. that Friday night, almost 12 hours after she was last seen alive. Guided by the babysitter, police entered Jennifer's home on Wells Avenue and discovered what appeared to be bloodstains in the garage and on a Land Rover. This immediately indicated that there was an attempt to clean up the garage. While the investigation was getting intensified, phone records would later prove that Fotis Dulos was on the move. Surveillance cameras captured a pickup truck registered to Fotis's company in the north end of Hartford, where garbage bags were thrown into different trash cans.
It was potentially an attempted cover-up for murder. The cameras in Hartford allowed detectives to track a 2014 Ford Raptor, one registered to Ford Group, traveling in the area from roughly 7:30 p.m. through to 7:50 p.m. on the 24th of May. The driver, a man shown wearing a light-colored shirt, dark pants, and a ball cap, was accompanied by a female passenger. The driver was captured depositing multiple black-colored plastic garbage bags into several trash receptacles along the route over this 20-minute period. There are 3 separate stops along the mapped route captured on camera in which bags were disposed of. Footage capturing the rear of the vehicle likewise shows several plastic bags in the back of the pickup truck, slowly depleting throughout the journey. At one point, the driver even stuffed a box of items through a storm drain in an attempt to dispose of it.
The investigators were able to find Jennifer's abandoned Chevrolet Suburban around 8:10 p.m. on the night of her disappearance near Waveney Park in New Canaan. There was still no sign of Jennifer. The case was building, and one man was shaping up to be the prime suspect. How could this have gone wrong? Could this really be a twisted case of an estranged husband getting rid of his wife for good? Let us go back to the beginning to unravel just how bad the situation was between Jennifer Dulos and her estranged husband, Fotis Dulos. Jennifer, formerly Jennifer Farber, married Fotis Dulos in August of 2004. Their family expanded with 2 sets of twins and their youngest child. In their family photos, they present a facade of a closed, happy family, a joyful mother with a radiant smile, and a proud father posing with their 5 children. Fotis appeared to be a loving and devoted father who always found time to be with his kids. He even got them hooked into competitive water skiing under his coaching. Fotis and Jennifer led a life that many could only dream of. For one, they resided in a multi-million-dollar mansion in Farmington. Fotis, a luxury home builder, and Jennifer, an accomplished writer with honors from Brown University and a master's in writing from NYU, they had everything they could possibly want and had the means to give their children the best lives. Notably, Jennifer had a blog where she often shared her experiences of motherhood and showcased her lifestyle in keeping their young children engaged while Fotis worked. Described by friends and family, Jennifer was brilliant, deeply genuine, compassionate, trustworthy, witty, and creative. Despite the picturesque image, Fotis once acknowledged the imperfections in their relationship. Almost 2 years before Jennifer's disappearance, he had some concerns about his family, and this prompted him to make this 911 call.
I'm worried about my wife and kids because they left to go to New York, and I haven't been able to get in touch with them. I've been texting, and I see that the texts are being delivered, but nobody's responding to me.
Without his knowledge, Jennifer had apparently taken their 5 kids from their Farmington home. The following day, she initiated emergency custody and divorce proceedings, expressing fear of Fotis's potential retaliation in court documents. In the court filings, she wrote, "I am afraid of my husband. I know that filing for divorce and filing this motion will enrage him. I know he will retaliate by trying to harm me in some way." Her worries included concerns about a gun box receipt discovered after she refused to sign a living agreement that would allow Fotis, his girlfriend, and her daughter to move into their home. At this point, Fotis was not hiding his promiscuity, but for some reason, he was being irrational and aggressive about Jennifer's decision to walk away. Over the months that followed, Jennifer often described him as dangerous and ruthless. As you can imagine, legal disputes ensued between both parties, with Fotis's lawyers vehemently denying Jennifer's claims and asserting Fotis's dedication to protecting his family. This was, of course, cited as his only reason for getting a gun. Their divorce and custody battle extended over 2 bitter and long years. In fact, before her subsequent disappearance in May 2019, about 300 court motions had been filed to that effect. The family's babysitter later spoke out on some of the distressing fights she witnessed back in 2017. This included an incident where Jennifer tearfully revealed that Fotis had attempted to run her over and would have done so if she had not jumped in the right direction. Eventually, Jennifer gained full custody of the children. Fotis was granted only supervised visits, but he continued to fight for regular visitation. On May 17, 2019, a week before Jennifer eventually disappeared, Fotis faced another court loss for regular visitation. So when the family's babysitter called in and discovered Jennifer's absence from her appointments on May 24, her immediate thought was that Fotis was involved in the disappearance. A man angry that his wife wanted to leave him, a man angry that he could not have his way, a man angry that he could not have time alone for his kids. This already looks like the perfect motive for the crime. But as you are about to see, this case could not progress based on mere speculation alone.
We deny that Mr. Dulos had any involvement in the disappearance of his wife Jennifer, and we defy the state to prove that she is in fact dead.
Authorities uncovered substantial evidence, including Jennifer's car and blood-stained clothes, yet there was no indication of a body. Fotis Dulos was later apprehended at his Farmington residence in a grey t-shirt with an emotionless demeanor. He was arrested, but not for murder. In fact, it would take about 7 months for investigators to formally charge Fotis with the murder of his estranged wife, Jennifer Dulos. In a case without a body, the prosecution needs more than substantial evidence to establish a suspect's culpability. Sadly, this was the case for Jennifer Dulos. Let's take a step back to follow the trail of the evidence left behind.
Basically, when something like this happens, 90 or 95% is the spouse.
Say yes, 90% of the time it is the spouse.
But it's 90%, it's not 100%.
So when people...
I'm in the 5 or 10%.
New Canaan, Connecticut, police embarked on an extensive quest to locate Jennifer. They adorned the town with missing person signs and earnestly sought assistance from passers-by near Waveney Park, which had since become a focal point of their search. Jennifer's abandoned SUV in the park was meticulously scoured by New Canaan police, state police, and the FBI, but even this failed to yield any evidence. Evidence from Jennifer's home on the night of her disappearance underwent forensic analysis, revealing apparent blood on the Land Rover's hood and bumper, garage door, and wall, all indicating an attempted cleanup. Despite being a match to Jennifer's DNA, a blood-like stain on a kitchen faucet was a blend of Jennifer and Fotis's DNA. A shirt believed to be worn by Jennifer on the fateful day, stained with her blood, emerged from evidence retrieved in Hartford's trash cans on Albany Avenue, the same trash cans that Fotis can be seen throwing things into. A search warrant for Fotis's phone records traced his movements on the day Jennifer vanished, placing him in Hartford's North End. Surveillance footage depicted a man resembling Fotis, disposing of bags along Albany Avenue, even stuffing a box into a storm drain. His alleged accomplice, riding in the car with him, resembled Michelle Troconis, his new girlfriend. She later admitted to aiding Fotis, not knowing what she was really doing.
I think you have information.
I don't know, but I can walk the whole world with you if you want. I can take you to like the motor place. I can walk. I can spend a month with you guys. I can do whatever you want, but I didn't do it.
I have no idea what happened to Jennifer. I have no idea where Jennifer is.
During the search, police discovered taped Connecticut license plates that read 5T6WBU, but when the tape was peeled off, it actually read 516WDJ. Upon scrutiny, it was later revealed that the license plate was a cancelled registration tied to a Chevrolet Suburban formerly owned by Fotis. The trash bags yielded other items like women's clothing, a kitchen sponge, zip ties, and other items stained with what seemed to be blood. Forensic testing confirmed DNA matches to Jennifer Dulos for a t-shirt, bra, paper towels, sponge, mop handle, gloves, zip ties, and taped together in plastic bags. All this evidence formed the basis for bringing Fotis in for different charges except murder. Just over a week after his estranged wife disappeared, Fotis was apprehended and presented in court, clad in an orange jumpsuit with handcuffs securing his wrists and shackles encircling his waist. The charges lodged against him were tampering with evidence and hindering prosecution, yet murder was not among them. While Fotis was incarcerated, the police intensified their investigative efforts. Returning to the neighborhood where trash bags were discarded, they discovered some had already been collected. The inquiry extended to a trash facility in Hartford, where heaps of garbage were left. Exhaustively, investigators combed through 30 to 35 tons of refuse daily, dedicating 15 hours for nearly 3 weeks. Simultaneously, Fotis's residence in Farmington underwent examination, yielding handwritten notes termed as alibi scripts. These detailed Fotis and his girlfriend's activities on the day Jennifer vanished and the subsequent day. Strikingly familiar to Michelle's initial statements, the police now eyed her as an accomplice. By September, Fotis faced a second arrest, accused of additional evidence tampering. As the investigation escalated, detectives noted changes in Fotis's girlfriend's account. While she had initially claimed they were together that morning, her story later changed as she claimed to be ignorant about Fotis's whereabouts on the morning of May 24, 2019. According to police affidavits, Michelle disclosed that Fotis had borrowed a friend's truck around that time and detailed and washed it afterward. The friend of the truck affirmed Fotis had insisted on discarding the old seats. This was the same truck Fotis purportedly drove to New Canaan on the day his estranged wife disappeared. On January 7, 2020, Fotis faced arrest once more. This time, authorities believed they had sufficient evidence to charge him with murder, felony murder, and kidnapping related to Jennifer Dulos's disappearance and demise. Family and friends expressed relief at the formal charges, but closure remained elusive, acknowledging the irreplaceable loss of Jennifer. Meanwhile, Michelle Troconis transitioned from a pivotal alibi to a crucial witness, with police unearthing what they deemed lies in her statements. Following the joint arrest with Fotis, Michelle reportedly admitted involvement in events transpiring the night of Jennifer's disappearance. Allegedly accompanying Fotis in a truck down Albany Avenue, she purportedly played a role in disposing of evidence and aiding Fotis in concealing the aftermath. Handwritten notes found in Fotis's Farmington residence, termed alibi scripts, mirrored the exact details of Michelle's earlier statements to the investigators. This only reinforced suspicions about her complicity in the unfolding case. As per the police affidavit, Michelle initially informed authorities that Fotis was at home on the morning of May 24th. They allegedly engaged in morning routines, including intimacy, and she prepared breakfast. However, during subsequent interviews, investigators claimed Michelle's responses became progressively unclear, mysterious, and contradictory. Eventually, records indicate she confessed that Fotis was not at home on that fateful morning. Police were aware of the intricate dynamics involving Michelle, Fotis, and Jennifer. Michelle was cited as the girlfriend in question within the context of Jennifer filing for divorce. On the day of Jennifer's disappearance, Michelle acknowledged having lunch with Fotis, and this was, in fact, corroborated by phone records and surveillance footage. However, his activities that morning were to be determined. Later, she stated they convened at a property owned by Fotis's luxury home building company that afternoon. She explained that preparations for a client meeting the next morning were the reason for the cleanup. It was at this point that the investigators allegedly informed Michelle that Fotis had killed his wife and implicated her in the said cleanup. Despite her previous status, Michelle faced renewed charges of evidence tampering and subsequent conspiracy to commit murder. Michelle's legal representative sought access to all evidence claimed by the police. He had expressed concerns about her comprehension during police interrogations leading to her initial arrest. He painted a narrative that she struggled with the English language, which was the reason why her testimonies differed from the testimonies she was given after her arrest. Amidst these developments, a third arrest was made. Kent Mohini is an attorney who had earlier represented Fotis Dulos in civil cases prior to Jennifer Dulos's disappearance. However, he has since been linked to the crime. As detailed in the arrest warrant, Connecticut State Police investigators disclosed the discovery of a grave on the premises of the Windsor Rod and Gun Club approximately 1 week before Jennifer's disappearance. Now, this club is situated on about 25 acres of wooded land in East Granby and is linked to Kent Mohini because he played a pivotal role in establishing the club over a decade ago. Even more damning is the fact that he tried to re-establish his ties to the club weeks before Jennifer's disappearance. Notably, he had departed the club approximately 5 or 6 years prior. On May 18, days before Jennifer's disappearance, 2 club members, while hunting in a restricted zone, stumbled upon a hole measuring 2 feet wide, 6 feet long, and 3 feet deep. Alongside the hole, they observed a blue tarp and 2 bags of lime, which could be used to mask offensive smells. During the course of the investigation, the site was searched. While no evidence of human remains was found anywhere on the property, the detectives discovered that Fotis Dulos communicated with Mohini while purportedly disposing of evidence on the night Jennifer disappeared. Based on these phone records, Kent Mohini was arrested in connection with the case. A year post Jennifer's disappearance, Michelle Troconis broke her silence in Spanish, expressing sorrow for the children's loss and also maintaining that she had no knowledge of Jennifer's whereabouts or fate. She also questioned the accusations against Fotis and reflected on her perceived mistake in trusting him.
Her attorney provided a translated version which says in part, "As a mother, I am saddened for the loss that these 5 children have suffered, being left without both parents in such a short period of time. But despite the way I have been treated by the police, I know nothing about Jennifer Dulos' whereabouts or what may have happened to her." She went on to say, whether or not Fotis Dulos was capable of doing those things the police and prosecutors accused him of doing, I do not know. But based on what I have learned in the last year, I think it was a mistake to have trusted him.
Everyone was waiting for the trials to begin in hopes that new evidence would come to light. Unfortunately, a shocking twist altered the course of the case. Fotis was still facing the murder charges, but was notably under house arrest. Unfortunately, he would do the unthinkable. It began when Fotis was called back into court for an emergency bond hearing in January 2020. When Fotis did not show up, the police went over to his Farmington home. There, they discovered that he had locked himself in his garage and attempted suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning. His absence at the hearing, followed by the discovery in his Farmington home, raised speculation of a suicide attempt.
Through a window that Mr. Dulos was sitting in his vehicle, and he had obvious signs of medical distress. Officers forced entry and immediately began to perform life-saving measures. Medics responded from the East Farmington Fire Department, Yukon Health, and AMR ambulance to assist with those life-saving measures. Mr. Dulos was transported to Yukon Health by ambulance, where he is now listed as critical condition.
Subsequently, Fotis was declared dead 2 days after the incident, leading many to interpret it as an acknowledgement of guilt.
Fotis Dulos was declared dead tonight at 5:32.
A purported suicide note, supposedly written and signed by Fotis Dulos, maintained his innocence and that of Michelle Troconis. The note read, If you are reading this, I am no more. I refuse to spend even an hour more in jail for something I had nothing to do with. I want it to be known that Michelle Troconis had nothing to do with Jennifer's disappearance, and neither did Kent Mahiney. My attorney can explain what happened with the bags on Albany Avenue. Please let my children know that I love them. I would do anything to be with them, but unfortunately, we all have our limits. The state will not rest until I rot in jail. This note was released by his attorney, Norm Pattis, and he also pledged to persist in clearing Fotis's name.
The family is adamant that his name be cleared. As we are speaking, we have filed an unusual motion in the Connecticut courts asking to substitute an estate for Fotis Dulos for him as a defendant, to force the state to show its hand in a trial filled with evidence we think that amounts to no more than innuendo and unsupported suspicion.
Despite these efforts, the state ceased prosecution a month after Fotis's death. For Jennifer Dulos' family, closure continues to be a distant dream even years after she disappeared, as her whereabouts remain unknown. As for the orphaned Dulos children, Jennifer's mother has since assumed custody of the 5 children. The family's narrative has been altered forever, leaving numerous unanswered questions, foremost among them being what happened to Jennifer Dulos. January 11, 2023, the trial of Michelle Troconis began. On this note, we are certain that there are still some truths left to discover.